So this is my chicken sandwich video. I'm making some fried chicken cutlets that I end up using for chicken sandwiches, and I do use them for chicken parm as well. So I'm taking some thin chicken cutlets here, and I'm just going to cut them down to fit the size of like a hamburger bun. So I'm going to go ahead and get my chicken all cut, and then I'm going to go ahead and give my chicken a rinse as well. I like to use a paper plate whenever I cut chicken. It's just easier for me just to cut it on a paper plate instead of using a cutting board. I could use a designated cutting board for it, but I just prefer to use the paper plate. That way I could just throw it out or I can burn it. Salmonella poisoning and knowing what it does just scares me, so paper plate it is. I'm gonna rinse my chicken. After you have your chicken rinsed, you're going to go ahead and start to season it. So I'm using a packet of sazon, and then I'm going to use some kosher salt here, about 2 teaspoons. And then I'm going to throw in my usual seasonings that I typically use for everything, garlic. And then I'm going to throw in some onion powder. And then black pepper. And then my Red Robin seasoning. You want to make sure you season your meat very generously. This is going to sit for a little while, so you want those flavors to marry, and you want that chicken to absorb that. So what I'm going to do here is add my buttermilk as well. If you don't have buttermilk, you can definitely use milk and mustard or milk and vinegar. Buttermilk acts as a tenderizer for the meat, and it also creates for a juicy piece of chicken. So use what you have on hand. Use what you have available. Some people can also use Greek yogurt or plain yogurt. It's whatever you have. I mean, it's whatever works for you and whatever you want to do. Recipes change. People change recipes. You add this, you add that. You can take out whatever you don't like. It's not meant to be set in stone. Cooking's never meant to be set in stone. It's a little bit of this, it's a little bit of that. And you season with love. And then you're just going to go ahead and cover your chicken and then let it sit in the refrigerator for as long as you like. I did let it sit for about 4 hours before I fried it. So now I'm going to go ahead and start my dredge, which is just going to be my flour coating for the chicken. So I'm taking some flour here in a Ziploc bag. And then I'm going to go ahead and add 2 packets of sazon. And then I'm going to also use the same seasonings that I use in the marinade. I'm going to go ahead and just put into the bag. So here we go. Garlic, onion, pepper, the Red Robin seasoning. And I didn't add any salt because I feel like the chicken's going to be salty enough. And then when I take the chicken out of the fryer, I'm going to sprinkle it with some kosher salt. So I didn't put any salt in the flour mixture. You definitely can. But I just steer away from it because I'm using the Red Robin seasoning and I'm using sazon, which can also be a little salty. So I'd rather be safe than sorry. I can't take any salt away after it cooks, so I'm just going to be safe. You're just going to go ahead and shake up your flour to make sure that you have all the seasonings incorporated. You don't want your flour to look white. You want it to look like it has seasoning. So if it doesn't look like it has enough seasoning, if it's still white, put more in. It's not going to hurt it. I forgot to mention too, I do go heavy on the black pepper in the flour as well. So now that that's all set, I'm going to go ahead and add in my chicken, a couple pieces at a time. And then once you have the pieces in, you're going to go ahead and zip up the bag, and then you're going to go ahead and give it a good shake. You want to make sure that the chicken is evenly coated with flour. So you're going to go ahead and just keep shaking it until you can see that it's all coated. Now I'm going to go ahead and start taking them out of the bag. I'm just going to check them and make sure that they're all fully dredged in the flour. And then I'm just going to repeat the process until I'm ready to start frying. You can do this too with pork cutlets. You could do this with cube steak, like the country fried steak. This is the same process you would do for either of those. I mean, you could also just do this in a frying pan too. You don't have to use a deep fryer like I'm using, but I do have my deep fryer preheating to 350, and then I'm going to go ahead and start frying these guys as soon as I get them all dredged. Now I'm ready to start frying. So I'm going to go ahead and place 3 cutlets in each basket just to make sure that they're not really touching, trying to give them enough space so they can cook evenly. But these only take about 3 to 5 minutes to cook up because they're very thin, so they're going to cook up pretty quick. So you just want to keep an eye on them too. You don't want to let them go too far because if they go too far, they're just going to be really tough. But they do cook up pretty quick. Here's what they look like. They're almost done at this point, so I'm going to get ready to pull the baskets up and just let them drain in the basket for a little while. So here they are after they've been draining for a little while, so I'm going to go ahead and just place them on a paper towel just to drain any excess grease that might be on them, and then I'm going to sprinkle them with some kosher salt as well. I love my deep fryer. It's the best investment that I've made so far in my kitchen. I feel we don't use it often, but when we do, we make sure that we make good food with it. So it's definitely worth the money. So now I'm going to show you how I toast up my buns for my chicken sandwiches. So I have some butter down on my griddle pan, and I'm going to go ahead and place my buns down on top of the butter. So you're just going to toast them for a few minutes. It takes all of like 3 minutes to do it, but you're going to go ahead and just put them all down and let them go for a few minutes, and then once they're toasted on that one side, you can go ahead and flip them and then just turn the heat off so they're nice and toasted at this point. So I'm going to go ahead and flip them all, and yes, I'm using my fingers to do it. Yeah, it got a little hot there, but hey, God's tools, might as well use them. And now I'm just going to shut the pan off, and then they're going to finish toasting on that side too. But it's so much better when you have toasted buns for a sandwich. Now I'm making my homemade blue cheese dressing for my chicken sandwich. So I'm taking about, we'll say a half a cup of mayo, and then I'm going to use some sour cream, probably about maybe a tablespoon and a half here. And then I'm going to go ahead and add in my seasonings and some buttermilk too. I only put a splash of buttermilk in, probably a tablespoon. So now I'm going to go ahead and add in those seasonings. I'm going to use some pepper, some onion powder and garlic powder, and then just a couple of dashes of some ranch powder. And then I'm going to go ahead and add in my blue cheese crumbles. Using probably about 1/4 of a cup of blue cheese here because I'm only making a little bit because it was only me and my mom that ate the blue cheese dressing on the sandwiches because we did spicy chicken sandwiches with some hot sauce. So I'm going to go ahead and just mix in the blue cheese crumbles, and I'm going to try to mush the blue cheese crumbles down too, just to make almost like a smoother texture of dressing. But this is such a quick and easy blue cheese dressing. You can use this with like carrots or celery, any vegetable, or you can use it for chicken wings too. But it's so much nicer and so much easier to make your own dressing because you're controlling the ingredients that go into it. Here's the blue cheese dressing all finished, and then here's the chicken sandwich all done. We put some cheese and shredded lettuce on it. Thanks for watching.